But where's my pianist? She disappears and I have to go. Oh, there she is. There she is. Okay. All right. Oh, thank you. Very nice. Hi, how are you? It's got that blue. Well, I thought. I guess we can start it off. We're pretty quick. It's well, there's Todd coming in the door. So I'm going to do this. Grab a book. There's no screen going to be up there today. Grab a book. Turquoise hymnals. Yeah. Okay, I think this. Yep, you bet. We are going. Heaven knows where we are going, but we know within, and we will get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. It will be hard, we know, and the road will be muddy and rough, but we'll get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know within. Whoa, yeah, yeah. Whoa, yeah, yeah. Whoa, yeah, yeah. Whoa, yeah, yeah. We are going. Heaven knows where we are going, but we know within, and we will get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know within. Whoa, yeah, yeah. Whoa, yeah, yeah. Whoa, yeah, yeah. Whoa, yeah, yeah. Whoa, yeah, 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 yeah. Whoa, yeah, 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 yeah. Whoa, yeah, 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 yeah,
yeah. Oh, yeah, 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 yeah.
Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Spokane, where our mission is to join together to create a nourishing, liberal religious home and to champion justice, diversity, and environmental stewardship in our wider world, or in short, to create community, find meaning, and work for justice. Great to see all of you this morning. You're supposed to say, great to see you too, Todd. You're just wondering who was going to start, right? I'm just teasing. I do want to begin by welcoming all of you, as always, in as heartfelt a way that I can, because I gravely appreciate this community and what it stands for and who you are, and all that you bring with you, not only to this space on Sunday mornings, but to this community and to our world. So just want to welcome all of you. I want to welcome those who might be joining us more recently or even for the first time today. You're equally as appreciated and embraced, as is all that you bring with you, your unique beliefs, your background, your lifestyle, your experiences. And I do want to also welcome those who are streaming with us this morning. We're also grateful to know that you're with us. So thanks to everyone. Before we take a few moments to greet one another, just a couple of quick announcements. One, a correction. I think the church email went out this week and had Larry Richards' presentation on the Cook Islands, question and answer presentation on the Cook Islands listed for next month. That's actually happening tomorrow in the chapel around noon. So if you're thinking of going to Cook Islands and want to know everything you need to know about it, check with Larry. He'll let us know if it's still there or underwater. No, I'm pretty sure it's still there. And also, our community auction, one of our important fundraisers of the year, is going to be kicking off soon, and there is a table in the back that has the sign-up sheets. If you have an auction item you want to donate this year, we greatly appreciate it. There's also suggestions back there if you don't have any ideas yet that might help prompt some. And then finally, I want to welcome Fostering Washington. There is a table set up in the back. I met somebody with Fostering Washington on a plane trip last year, and she said, wow, we'd love to come to your church and talk a little bit about what we do and how families can become supporting families or even foster families. So there is a table back there. You'll meet a very nice lady named Amber, there she is, who's personing the table and would love to talk with you about what Fostering Washington does. Oh yeah, but before you greet one another, I know I would be remiss not to say something about the terrible shooting that occurred in our country and so close to home this past week. As I said during the first service, I really don't have anything to say. It's very difficult anytime these things happen, especially when they happen in our own community. And all I can really do is say, my heart goes out to all of us, but especially to those who are most impacted by the senselessness of something like that. And that I get tired of hearing that, I get tired of hearing us have to say that, because there is something we can do. We need better gun control regulations in this country to regulate the weapons of war that are being purchased by ordinary citizens and keep them out of the hands of those who don't need to have them. So I don't want to say the one without the other. It's a hard way to start our service off, but it's been a hard week. So I grieve and I'm angry, and I hope both of those motivate me and others to action, and maybe this will be the incident that finally says we've got to do something. So, with that said, I hope you will say hi to those that you appreciate seeing each Sunday in this room. Make some new friends today if there's some faces you haven't met. And if you're joining us more recently or for the first time, please don't be shy. We're very glad that you're here. You guys sound like you're just ready to go right into social hour this morning. Well, you know, I prepared a very lengthy academic speech today that I'd hate for you to miss. But definitely you'll get to continue your conversation during our social hour following the service. So hope you'll stay around for that. And the work party. That's what you were waiting in line to talk to me about before the service started and finally gave up. So there's a work party after service today. See Julie. And lunch for workers. No work for your meals. Okay, thank you. So where are we in our service anyway? What comes next? Chalice lighting. An important part of our service for sure, because this is, as you hear us say each week, the symbol of our unity and our solidarity, of our openness and our inclusion, of our community and our individual uniqueness. May this small flame be our offering of warmth to those who are cold and alone, and a light to those in darkness. May it be a flame that ignites justice in our world and a beacon of hope to those in need, and may it reflect at least a spark of truth wherever truth has been lost, and cast a healthy shadow of doubt wherever it's been found.
The opening reflection is by Katie Stein Sather. We gather to be together. We gather to celebrate and to support our beloved community. We gather to commune in body as well as in spirit. Let us share both the food and the fellowship we find here today.
You may have already noticed that we're not using our screen today, so I invite you to pick up your gray hymnals and to turn to number 295, Sing Out Praises for the Journey. That's 295, and please rise as you're willing and able.
Want to see the picture? Okay, no more kids. Right. So I have a Russian friend who lives in Germany currently, and he writes short stories, and one of them was something that I liked and decided to tell you his story, of course, in English. So the story is called A Hedgehog in the Sun. And this is an example of hedgehogs. See how they look? Well, we know that hedgehogs are nocturnal creatures who make their nests in thick bushes and leave their shelters after dusk. This story, however, is about a special hedgehog. A wrong-headed hedgehog. This is the wrong-headed hedgehog. See? Why the wrong-headed? Because he did everything his way. He left his home any time of the day because he enjoyed the sun. Unlike the other hedgehogs who kept to themselves, this wrong-headed hedgehog loved to chat with the neighbors. When he learned that some animals in the forest abused their power, he decided to speak in defense of the small and the vulnerable. You see, the forest animals were accustomed to their way of life. They thought it was quite normal that the fox chases the hares. Do you know the hares? The hares are wild rabbits in the forest. Chases all the time and kills them without repercussion. Who was in charge of the forest, you may ask? Well, as it goes in Russian tales, it was the bear. The bear was in charge of its inhabitants, but he cared less about the problems of smaller animals. And the next in rank to the bear was the wolf. But he also turned a blind eye on the fox's harassment of helpless hares. To tell the truth, the wolf himself did not mind picking on those short-tailed, long-eared creatures just for fun. Of course, he liked something bigger. That is why all these complaints about the unfair treatment of hares fell on deaf ears. The cunning fox assured everybody that those hares were worthless, lazy rabbits, that they were fed by the humans for their own consumption. So, life in the forest went on the usual way until something out of the ordinary happened. Can you believe that the wrong-headed hedgehog decided to begin a fight for equality and justice in the forest? Can you believe that? Yes, well, of course, he had a plan. You may say that a hedgehog is not bigger than a hare, that's true. But who wants to deal with a ball of sharp needles? Going through the forest trails and talking to animals, this hedgehog was revealing some secrets. Friends, he said, you know that the fox enjoys privileges of her relationship with the bear and the wolf. But do you know that the bear has been building his 10th den, and still insists that he owns only one old property? And by the way, the wolf has already killed 3 cows, and he claims that he is a vegetarian. The outraged community in the forest demanded that the big animals account for their actions. Here comes the fox, speaking on behalf of the bear and the wolf. Believe me, she says, it's all fake news about the bear. Then she began to defend the wolf. Said the fox, the cattle farm was attacked by jackals. Perhaps there were some wolves involved, but they must have been lost in the woods, strangers, and not our peace-loving, grazing on green pastures wolf. Do you think the wrong-headed hedgehog was fooled by the fox's speech? Not at all. He called for all hedgehogs to come out of their dog shelters and make those big animals play by the rules. Hundreds and hundreds of prickly bulls gathered on the trails and roads to block the access to the hunting places. And meanwhile, the bear had a meeting with the wolf and the fox. We're going to lose our leadership if we don't have a plan. What shall we do? Asked the bear. We must outlaw group gatherings, suggested the wolf. Right, said the fox. And we need to spread the word about the coming threats from tigers and lions across the ocean. After the vote, the deal was sealed, followed by the orders from the bear. When the orders reached the forest animals, intimidated hedgehogs went back to their nests. Remembering the freedom and the warmth of the sun, some of them occasionally left their nests in the daytime. Only the wrong-headed hedgehog refused to obey. There is nothing like the sun and the freedom, he kept on saying, coming up his shelter in the morning. The bear, the wolf, and the fox valued freedom too. However, their understanding of freedom was quite different. This is how this story ends. What happens next is up to you. Let's sing them out. Go now in peace, go now in peace. May the Spirit of all surround you everywhere, everywhere.
Today we have a special collection. If you open your order of service, you'll find a small envelope. Please use this if you wish to donate. And don't worry about licking it shut as we reuse these envelopes. Our special collection today is on behalf of Transitions, a local nonprofit working to end poverty and homelessness for women and children in Spokane. Transitions operates 5 unique programs: the Woman's Hearth, a day center in downtown Spokane, Miriam's House, and the Transitional Living Center, which are transitional housing programs, Educare, a therapeutic daycare for the littlest victims of homelessness, and the New Leaf Bakery and Cafe, a job training program. Through their unique service model designed around building community and fostering trusting relationships, Transitions is able to engage and assist many of the most marginalized women in accessing resources and finding housing. If this ministry speaks to you, we invite you to give generously. We now gratefully give and receive this morning's offering, which sustains this community and our mission to the larger world.
Now I'm here. So our burdens will be gone. I can't wait. We will find our way to an understanding of all views, and no prayer shall be refused. I can't wait.
Melvin, thank you so much for being our special musical guest today. We're now going to kindle our candles of care for those who are most on our hearts and minds, and we must begin today with a candle of care for the Anselmo Monarch family, whose son Jordan is currently in a comatose state at Sacred Heart Hospital after some medical complications yesterday. Obviously, the family is very traumatized, and if you know them well, you can call Gary and he'll give you more details. Also, a candle for our Director of Children and Family Ministry, Aria Curtis, whose grandmother Ruth passed away this week. She was 99 years old, Aria says. She grew up on a farm, owned many downtown Seattle restaurants. You may have been to some of those unknowingly. Was a world traveler and a huge dancer, and Aria says she will be missed. And also a candle for Alan Foster. His mother, Ann Foster, passed away on Tuesday at age 89. So Alan, we're thinking of you as well. Let's take a moment of silence on behalf of others who might be on our hearts and minds this morning, and you'd be welcome to name them aloud at this time if you'd like.
Student Center, families in freedom.
Actually, my brother, John, passed away yesterday for Stevenson.
Victims of Hurricanes Irma and Harvey.
Vic Castleberry, I believe, is a member who died on Thursday.
Hmm. Those named aloud and those embraced in our silence, and all those who are suffering in our world at this hour, we hold in our community with compassion.
Today we have a special collection. If you open your order of service, you'll find a small envelope. I'm getting ahead. Opening reflection. Okay, opening reflection. Opening reflection is by Katie Stein Sather. We gather to be together. We gather to celebrate and to support our beloved community. We gather to commune in body as well as in spirit. Let us share both the food and the fellowship we find here today.
meditation?
We're doing the meditation right now until you interrupt it. Well, there goes that. Just for you, Linda. That's all right. We all get off track just a little bit now and then, except for me. I never do. Except for every Sunday. Well, let's do our responsive reading so that we can move into some more special music by turning to number 646. In the back of the gray hymnal, number 646. If you don't have one, maybe you can share with a neighbor, or if you see someone who doesn't. And we will, why don't we start with this side of the room? This side can be our respondents, and then we will all conclude together. Except in fragments.
It's about the best thing of an apocalyptic dream. Oh, it's no place to fall fast or sound asleep. It's a world of delusion. It's no place at all. It's extinction shadow on the wall. All you can hope for is something true, said by someone who cares for you. Oh, it's about the best thing a friend can do when they smile and say something true.
Thank you so much. My sermon today is entitled The Lifetime Spread. It's a row reading for UUCS. And I'm going to begin by showing you an image. In case you missed it, did you miss it? This is a scene from the very latest Action Comics issue, number 987, released just 4 days ago, showing Superman defending a group of immigrants from a racist gunman who blames them because he lost his job. "They stole from me," he exclaims, "ruined me." After Superman disarms the man, he tells him, "The only person responsible for the blackness smothering your soul is you." He then instructs the arresting officers to make sure these people are safe and cared for. Take a moment, if you will, to feel how this image impacts you emotionally. Don't bother to think about it much, just feel it. This simple drawing stirs something within us, not because of its intrinsic qualities, but because of all the meaning that we project into it, because of all that is happening in our lives and in the real world outside of this image. After the horrific school shooting in our own community on Thursday, only a day before this not-so-comical comic book was released, the image of a powerful superhero swooping in to protect innocent people from violence and madness is particularly moving. Its more obvious meaning, of course, has to do with the real-world situation in our country, in which racism and white supremacy has emerged from the shadows, spewing hate against non-whites. And I mean only emerged from the shadows, because it's still been with us institutionally. But now it again is spewing overt hate against non-whites, especially black and brown non-whites. And in this issue's storyline, in fact, the villain is some unexplained force that's causing ordinary people to do terrible things, like corporations firing lifelong employees to save a buck, rebel guerrillas attacking an orphanage and kidnapping its children, poachers killing rhinoceroses for their horns, ship captains drinking on duty, prison riots, workplace shootings, war, racial disputes, terrorist attacks, widespread violence everywhere, the comic book says, more than anyone can handle, even Superman. Believe it or not, I'm not a comic book collector. But I was compelled to buy a copy of this historic issue after learning of the controversy it's provoked. A Fox News columnist, for example, has called it a propaganda tool for the defending of illegal aliens. Its author, Todd goes on to say, remember when Superman stood for truth, justice, and the American way? Then again, Clark Kent is technically an illegal alien, isn't he? I bring this up today only to show the power of imagery, to move us, to provoke us, and to cause us to assign meaning to what objectively are little more than ink blots. This is the basis upon which I have long used imagery to help contemplate the circumstances of my own life, to help resolve my own inner conflicts, and to determine what direction I should take. For there is something about contemplating an image that can lead us to insights that we might otherwise miss, whether pondering the meaning of our own dreams or drawing upon images from ancient oracles like runestones, constellations, the I Ching, or tarot cards. Most of us seem to have the uncanny ability to discover in them just what we need at the time. This habit of finding meaning in almost everything and anything, the Virgin Mary in the clouds, Jesus in a slice of toast, is why Harvard psychologist Robert Keegan defines humans as meaning makers, explaining that what a human organism organizes is meaning. It also seems to have something to do with mental well-being. We must all cope with suffering, uncertainty, and evil in the world. And we often do so by projecting order in such chaos. That is, by finding meaning in the random ink blotches of our lives. Doing so was the entire point of Nazi death camp survivor Viktor Frankl's logotherapy, as outlined in his classic book, Man's Search for Meaning, in which he argues that we can survive just about anything if we can find meaning in it. Sociologist Peter Berger says, we all have an innate need for meaning and that we cannot accept meaninglessness. And this is why Carl Jung, the great psychologist, didn't view ancient oracles like the I Ching or the zodiac or runes or tarot in a magical way, as fortune-telling devices, but as archetypal imagery that, when reflected upon, can help us unlock inherited wisdom buried deep within our own unconscious minds. And this is how I too have come to understand and use them since I began studying Jungian psychology more than a quarter century ago. So today, rather than talking much about how contemplating images can open us to century-old wisdoms, the wisdom of humanity's collective unconscious, I've drawn a series of tarot cards with our church in mind. And this particular placement of the 7 cards I drew is called the Lifetime Spread, with each card's location signifying something different about where we've been, where we are, and where we need to go from here. And I'll say more about that, but quickly, for those who might not be familiar with the tarot, it is believed that it was first used in Europe in the 15th century simply for playing card games. It had kings, queens, princes, and princesses, along with 4 suits: discs, swords, cups, and wands. And these are remain the ancestors of today's traditional playing cards. People began using them for divination in the 18th century. And what happened then was the deck grew from 56 cards to 78 cards, 22 of which are called major arcana. The major arcana are not in suits, they are independent images like the Fool, the Death card that always shows up in horror movies, right? The World, the Devil, the Tower, the Wheel of Fortune, and so on. Today there are numerous kinds of decks, the most popular of which are the Rider-Waite deck and Aleister Crowley's Thoth deck. How many of you have tarot cards here? How many of you use the Rider-Waite? A few. And how many use Thoth? And how many have something different? Oh, a lot of different. More than half of you have something different. I won't ask, because we could go on all day. There are some very unique ones, pretty obscure out there, like the Mermaid deck. Do any of you have the Mermaid deck? You have the Mermaid deck, okay. How about the Celtic Fairies deck? Celtic Fairies deck, you've got them all. You're the tarot connoisseur. How about the Wizard of Oz deck? You don't have the Wizard of Oz deck. Next on the list. Next on the list. I know what you're going to do after church today, right? Go online. You're going to do tarot cards today, see? Great. So I actually even own a deck that I found on a clearance table for just a couple of bucks years ago, depicting aliens and UFOs, called contact cards. Clever. And honestly, given my human ability like yours to ascribe meaning to images, I have actually had great contemplative experiences with those cards. But the ones that I use most often over the years is what else? The Jungian Tarot, created by art historian and medievalist Robert Wang back in 1988. And the Jungian Tarot is the one that I'm using today, and the particular card layout I've chosen is again called the Lifetime Spread, and that's what the Lifetime Spread looks like, at least when I do it, which holds places for representing the past, the present, the future, a current life lesson, a most recently completed life lesson, what works for and what works against us. And I'll now present my interpretation of these cards, the cards I randomly drew last evening with the life of our church in mind. But again, this is only my interpretation, reflecting, even projecting meaning that I make out of these images. Others might interpret them differently, but I think you'll all agree that the 7 cards I took from the top of the deck after shuffling and cutting it several times seem almost too perfect to be random selections, but I promise you they are. So, you've got a hand up.
Yeah, did you actually draw them all up like that, or were they up and down?
I'm not sure I know what you're asking.
Like upside down cards?
Yeah, they were upside down, and I just took them off the top and turned them.
No, like top being at the bottom. There we go, inverted. Were any inverted?
No. Yeah.
So you drew all
My cards don't go upside down. Because they're designed not to. The top is always facing up. Yeah, so this is different, a little different than some of the decks, yeah. Now I know what you're saying, yeah. I didn't have any inverted ones, no. No, that's okay. So let's go into the first card of the selection, and this is representing our recent past, the 5 of Cups, and guess what it symbolizes? Troubles. According to Robert Wang, it represents some of the most difficult and painful of human experiences. And I must admit, given what I know about the difficulties that this church had a few years ago, including the resignation of your previous settled minister, financial stress that followed, conflicts among members, uncertainty about the church's future, or even if it had a future, and an extended period of time without a settled minister, it didn't take much for me to ascribe meaning to this card. The suit of cups, cups being containers that are shared and passed around, symbolizes relationships and community. The water they rest upon represents emotional and unconscious currents, all the stuff dwelling beneath the surface. And the flames beneath the cups in this particular card suggest that in the recent past, our church community was in some hot water. that it had reached a boiling point and that all kinds of stuff was bubbling up. There is a positive aspect of this card, however, that troubled waters can lead to resilience and determination, which I would say is precisely what ended up happening here. Several members stepped up to help fill the administrative gap and stepped into leadership roles at a very difficult time to lead. You cut expenses to compensate for financial shortfalls and to prepare for the future, fully committed to this church having a future and remaining a progressive voice in the Spokane region. You did it, and you're still here, and so is our church, which has remained a vital force in our community's arc toward justice for the past 130 years this year. So thank you for that. The next card, representing the present, the Six of Pentacles, symbolizes, get this, gain of wealth and power through hard work. Wang says it stands for unswerving self-discipline, for long and hard work which yields impressive results against very substantial odds or even in opposition to many who say something cannot be done. Again, this card seems spot on. It's not difficult to ascribe meaning to it. Firstly, it's a great card to have follow the previous card symbolizing a troubled past, especially one fraught with financial and institutional uncertainty. Those who were around then indeed worked hard with unswerving discipline in preparation for a new minister and better times. I'm happy to say that I benefited from that great work. And since I've been here, we've continued to work diligently together to get our house in order by scrutinizing our mission statement, our bylaws, our administrative policies, and strategically planning to fulfill our mission of sustaining and enriching a supportive liberal community for ourselves and creating a more just world for everyone. The pentacles are coins that symbolize financial and other worldly matters, which is why they hover against the backdrop of earth. And that there are 6 evenly distributed coins suggest stability and balance in our financial affairs and earthly endeavors. As Wang puts it, the 6 of Pentacles reflects persons driven towards one ambitious goal and have the strength of character never to be moved from the course toward that goal. That's why we start with our mission statement every Sunday. Getting our house in order by paying attention to our unglamorous finances, policies, and strategic plans, boring stuff you don't want to hear about on Sundays, is not the kind of spiritually minded matters most of us like to think about when it comes to church life. But the Pentacles remind us that we must pay attention to earthly matters if we're going to make a real and substantial difference in our world. And this is something that I'm proud to say we're doing an outstanding job of these days. Now, I'm getting some flashing lights. I'm pretty sure it's a false alarm because it's been going off for a week or two. Are you getting one here too? That one's not on? So we're just going to ignore it and maybe... it's not. Okay. So I'm the only one in danger of having a seizure. I think someone will go back and maybe work on turning those off. I apologize. So bottom line is this card is about dealing with some of our earthly matters. And we're doing a pretty good job about it. Pretty good job with it these days. The next card in the spread, representing our future, the 6 of Swords, You're not going to believe what this symbolizes. Justice. I know, it's uncanny. It's the perfect image for the future that we seek as expressed in our mission to create community, to find meaning, and to work for justice. Because there are 6 swords, this is also a card depicting balance, only instead of relating to finances and policies, swords represent ideas and decision-making, sound judgment, which is why their backdrop is a sky, a cloudy sky, the realm above of dreams and thoughts. So this too is a near perfect card to follow the previous one because it helps to balance our important, though unexciting attention to business matters with our bigger purpose, with our ideals and values and our dreams about making the world a better and more just place for everyone. It's about being clear-headed, thoughtful, and decisive about the direction that we're heading together. It's a card suggesting that our past journey across troubled waters and all we're doing now to keep our house in order will be worth it because, not magically, but through our resilience and effort, we shall succeed in the work of justice, which, after all, is the point of all we do. That's our bottom line. It is the 6 of Pentacles. If the 6 of Pentacles represents the trees, that is our need to pay attention to the details, the 6 of Swords represents the forest, our need to remember what we're here, why we're here, and what we're all about. The 4th card, representing our current lesson in life, is the life of our church, that is the 2 of Wands, symbolizing invention or creativity. This image, I must admit, has taken me a little more effort to ascribe specific meaning to, not because it's a stretch, but because it seems to represent so much that's going on in our church right now. The suit of Wands is associated with insight, imagination, creativity, spirituality, and herein rest upon a bed of fire, illuminating a dark sky. In this sense, as inventors, there's something about being isolated, a feeling of being isolated and alone in our endeavors, in our hopes of achieving things that seem unconceivable to others, changes given the current climate that may even seem impossible to us. Is it too late to stop global warming? After 500 years, are we ever going to end racism and bring down systems of white supremacy in our own nation? Can we create economies that work for the welfare of everyone, not just the filthy rich? Now, especially after the unimaginable and ill-gotten election of Donald Trump, it's difficult for us not to feel utterly defeated. Yet this is the current lesson that we are in. Finding a way to move positively and productively forward, even against difficult odds, when so many are tempted to just give up hope. Just as Thomas Edison is said to have tried thousands of filaments before he finally found one that worked, he didn't let his failures stop him from continuing, even when everyone else thought he had undertaken a fool's errand. Like Edison, the card of invention reminds us to keep going, to keep believing in ourselves, to keep pursuing what might seem unimaginable to everyone else. That's our current life lesson, keeping hope and continuing on, illuminating these dark times with our light, the light of our ingenuity, our genius, our inventiveness. Our next card, the Strength card, the only one from the major arcana in our spread, symbolizes the daughter as collector of experiences and is in the place of representing our most recently completed lesson. Look at all this powerful woman has gathered around her. She's even better than Superman, I can tell you. She stands before a backdrop that has it all. Stars, clouds, earth, water, even a stairway into the unconscious. All the settings we have seen in our previous cards. She's used all her experiences in these realms to become strong, as indicated by her power to tame lions, and that she is at home in the wilds beneath her feet. The man watching her in the distance shows that she has a companion, and that she, strength from experience, companions those of us who now watch her from a distance. As our most recently completed life lesson as a church, the strength and stamina we've gained through crossing troubled waters, getting our house together, and envisioning a better and more just future is precisely what has helped prepare us for difficult times and to succeed despite them in our current life lesson. That's why the card includes a dark cave in the background, because we now have the strength to get through it. The next card, the Seven of Pentacles, represents what works against us, symbolizing gain through commerce. This card is gain through commerce. Wang says this is a powerful card of almost certain financial reward through business investments, stocks, and banking. Now, being in the suit of Pentacles, it is again a card that obviously has to do with important worldly necessities. Being in the place of what works against us shouldn't lead us to the immediate assumption that we're paying too much attention to our finances. As we've seen, other cards in this spread have shown that so much attention has been a great source of our strength in positioning ourselves to fulfill our mission. In recent years, I'm very happy to say that we've learned to maintain a realistic and sustainable annual budget, something that was high on your priority list. That our endowment fund is very healthy, growing, and will soon become an additional source of financial stability for us. And that we're currently even working on a plan to reduce what we owe on the loan that helped us install a 75-panel solar array on our rooftop. All of this reflects the good financial position we're in and the seriousness with which our leadership takes its fiduciary responsibilities. What I think this card reminds us of, rather, is not to let our financial goals overshadow our larger mission, our purpose for being. Again, as Wang puts it, generally the pursuit of money and rewards is done at the exclusion of all else. Thus, the meaning that I ascribe to this card, given its placement in this spread, is that we can't lose sight of the path that we're on while paying attention to the details. We can't lose sight of the forest for the trees. Let's celebrate achieving our financial goals, but remember, they are means to greater ends, not ends within themselves. Finally, we have the Three of Cups, in the place representing what works for us, symbolizing, here's another name that seems to have uncanny significance, symbolizing secure environment. Wang describes it as a space into which one may safely withdraw, that gives nourishment for life's fray outside the walls. It's a good card to conclude with because it serves to remind us just how special and important this church is in our lives, especially in these times. It really is our safe place in a world that seems upside down, in a region of the nation where it's otherwise difficult to find supportive friends who share our same values. It's a place that reminds us we're not alone. a place that gives us hope that we can still make a difference, a place that empowers us, working side by side with each other to make our world more just. I see this on Sunday mornings when we come together and are free to contemplate life through our liberal perspective. I see it afterward during our social hour as we visit with old friends and make new friends. I see it in our groups, like our Tuesday night logic and emotional intelligence gathering, in which we not only work on our own individual skills, but linger afterward to chat with the friends who we are bonding with due to this unique experience. I saw it yesterday at the hospital, where several of our members came to embrace, to sit with, to weep with, and to offer support to one of our families in crisis. I see it in these dark and uncertain political times when people show up feeling broken and anxious and leave feeling whole and hopeful. In short, what works for us is our presence in the community and being present for each other. That's my interpretation of these images in a nutshell. In short, Superman isn't going to swoop in to shield us from speeding bullets. But who needs Superman when we have each other? Thank you.
We're going to close with a hymn that I've always loved, and many of you do too, I'm sure. It's called Wake Now My Senses. It actually encapsulates a lot of the mission of so many Unitarian Universalist churches. It is number 298 in your hardback hymnal. Would you please rise as you're willing and able? 2 verses, by the way, on the other page.
And hear the earth call, feel the deep power of being in all. Keep with the web of creation your vow, giving, receiving, as love shows us how. Wake now my reason, reach out to the new, join with each
benediction is by Kathy A. Huff. Our time in this place may have ended, but our connection to each other and this community remains. Together we walk the path of justice, speak words of love, live the selfless deed, trod gently upon the earth, and fill the world with compassion. Amen. Blessed be. Salam alaikum and shalom.
Shalom Haverim, Shalom Haverim, Shalom, Shalom, Shalom Haverim, Shalom Haverim, Shalom, Shalom.
Thank you.